The whole mission felt like bureaucratic filler, a hollow formality we tolerated. There was the expected pomp and circumstance because one of our deep space exploration probes had actually found something, a faint signal emanating from the void. In our collective history, nearly all initial contacts had been serene, resulting in amiable introductions and eventual integration. We anticipated intelligence in the galactic core, where stellar density promised prolific life. Yet, the probe detected focused radio chatter in the absolute middle of nowhere, a deep void far removed from all charted, civilized space. We would have to use an imprecise jump drive to enter the general vicinity. Then, we would track it down ourselves. Typically, the first contact team maintains a geosynchronous perch, meticulously learning the culture and the language. We offer the classic "we come in peace" dogma and calculate the energetic cost required to uplift them to interstellar capability. Only one civilization had ever been rejected: genocidal maniacs who attempted to fire on us, even after we extended the hand of fellowship. Now, we simply police their orbital trajectory and carry on. We executed the jump near the most promising stellar candidate, a trinary system. The two innermost giants were clearly too volatile, their massive stellar envelopes precluding any stable, habitable worlds. Next, we methodically examined the smaller, normal-sized red dwarf that circled the primary pair, but it offered nothing of scientific interest. Perplexed, we realized only one other system remained in the entire sector, yet its centerpiece was a colossal T Tauri star, a violently nascent furnace that absolutely could not harbor an uncontacted civilization. We initiated a cautious secondary jump. Our expectations were low, focused only on finding a malfunctioning navigational buoy or a severely disoriented derelict ship, bracing ourselves for a likely false positive from the probe. But as we searched, no lost idiot or satellite appeared. The third planet from that violent star was broadcasting intense, undeniable signals. We looked at one another, a silent dread settling over the bridge. This should not be possible. Our homeworld, the one we had always considered the template for viability, was a tidally locked, rocky sphere orbiting a calm, predictable red star. The sunward hemisphere was a serene, tropical ocean, a perpetual paradise. The dark side hosted an equally vast, dark, but tranquil sea. The terminator zone, the twilight band between, was the ecological zenith, offering perpetual, moderate sunlight, gentle breezes, and predictable, mild weather patterns. Its ample oxygen sustained a robust, healthy biosphere, shielded from cosmic degradation by a potent magnetic field. The reality is simple, etched in the very physics of stellar dynamics. Stars this large cannot stably support a world capable of life's genesis. It is technically permitted by the laws of probability, yet the sheer number of variables that must align renders it statistically improbable. And yet, here it was. As our vessel descended, we observed the steaming, catastrophic reality of the world. It was a gravitational monstrosity, its mass generating at least double the surface gravity of even the largest viable planets known to us. Merely setting foot on the crust would instantly shatter the legs of my species. Furthermore, it possessed a reckless axial spin, generating wild, inconsistent temperature fluctuations across its entire surface. How could life exist here? Its atmosphere was a noxious, nitrogen-choked soup, terribly thin and overwhelmingly insufficient for a healthy biosphere. The poles were capped with water ice, while the equator was defined by vast, arid swaths of land, comprising barely 30% of the total surface area. Any organism evolving here would require an unbelievable resilience, subsisting on half the oxygen concentration typical of habitable worlds, and adapting to a relentless cycle of blinding sunlight and absolute, bone-chilling dark. The thermal delta between alternating periods of flash freeze and rapid overheat would lethally stress most known life. Compounding these horrors, a gargantuan moon ravaged the planet's hydrosphere, spontaneously generating colossal tidal bulges that flattened bodies of water and birthed rogue, killer waves that periodically annihilated coastlines. The weather was a constant, terrifying performance. Storms matured into gargantuan, swirling funnels of destructive fury, while continuous lightning bolts, pure discharges of static electricity, lanced down from the clouds. Geologically, it was a waking nightmare, an extra insult to any tenacious life. Mountains perpetually spewed incandescent molten rock, releasing plumes of deadly gases and sun-blotting ash. The crust was fractured into countless, ceaselessly grinding tectonic plates that violently shook the entire world. Yet the true horror, the craziest part, was the godforsaken, sapient life that called this place home. On a typical, reasonable planet, where starlight or darkness is constant, as on a tidally locked world where one spot is always illuminated, always shadowed, or perpetually in twilight, evolution favors constant vigilance. Every creature must perpetually seek sustenance or evade predation. There is no serious window for rest. To lie down in the light means quick death by light-adapted hunters. To sleep in the dark invites swift annihilation by shadow predators. Constant vigilance is mandatory, but it comes at a profound neurological cost. The brain, operating at peak efficiency, produces metabolic waste products far too rapidly for the organism to dissipate. If my own sapient brain were to operate at 100%, the waste metabolites would accumulate swiftly, causing critical neurological failure, a fatal stroke. Thus, the intelligence of all known animal life is biologically throttled to a sustainable, reasonable speed. Yet these hell animals, due to their world's violent rotational cycle, are afforded brief, systemic respite. They can enter periods of dormancy or low operation when the environmental swings temporarily disable the major predatory guilds, granting them sufficient downtime to metabolize and clear the accumulated neural toxins. This profound evolutionary concession allows them to utilize their cognitive capacity to the absolute maximum, operating at peak speed throughout their active cycles. When we finally decoded the perpetual, dense radio messages they broadcast, the velocity of the information flow was genuinely shocking. Their dominant species, the Terran, or human, can process data at more than double my own baseline cognitive speed. I am considered highly sharp among my own people. Merely reading the translated, streaming comms was a logistical nightmare. The information arrived faster than we could possibly process it. A single human could comfortably maintain a complex, branching conversation with two of my species simultaneously and still suffer from intellectual boredom. And that was not all. When we first initiated remote observation, we maintained the naive assumption that we were invisible, granting us a valuable grace period to gather data. We were profoundly wrong. They absolutely knew we were there. They were already frantically assembling thermonuclear ordnance, intending to strike our ship as we clumsily maneuvered in their orbital view, failing to respond to their hails. Their baseline military technology was vastly superior to the level typically required for spaceflight capability. However, the crushing gravity and the sheer aerodynamic density of their atmosphere made achieving orbital velocity extraordinarily difficult. This singular physics constraint was our only saving grace, for they would pose an existential threat if they mastered space travel. Considering their blinding speed of thought, faster than any known creature in the galaxy, they could simply calculate the intercept solution and deploy lethal force before any of us could even process the threat. That would be the end. Their biological heat dissipation is insane. Their bodies, practically devoid of hair, allow them to exude water vapor for evaporative cooling in high-temperature environments. This mechanism is so terrifyingly efficient that their ancestral form hunted by simply running their prey to death through sheer physiological exhaustion. In terms of sustained physical exertion, they can outlast virtually any animal they choose to pursue. Do not believe the cold offers sanctuary. They are endothermic, generating their own internal thermal energy. They regularly cover themselves in deliberately applied, synthetic thermal insulators. These artificial layers trap the internally generated heat with such ruthless efficiency that the Terrans can comfortably penetrate nearly any climate zone on their world. Furthermore, they are apex pack animals. You are never dealing with a singularity. They form vast, relatively cohesive social units numbering in the hundreds of millions, coordinating through both sonic and visual language. This dual-channel communication allows them to transmit and process operational information with exceptional, debilitating speed. Their biology, descended from arboreal life forms, permits them to scale nearly any vertical surface they choose. They are peerless runners, adapted to outpace you across any expanse of flat land. Their versatile upper limbs function as sophisticated projectile launchers, meaning that simple distance is never enough to secure safety. Their endurance and smooth, hydrodynamic skin make them highly proficient aquatic hunters. Their entire physiological structure is calibrated for the high, violent gravity of their homeworld, meaning they can tolerate and function within any environment my species can. Crucially, they require less than half the oxygen saturation necessary for either you or me. Do not, under any circumstances, attempt to throttle their respiration by tampering with a closed-system atmosphere. Ironically, their isolated, unaugmented strength is pathetic. On their own world, they kill most prey only through the application of leverage and tools. For us, however, it is a vastly different equation. The weakest among them possesses the latent, biomechanical force equivalent to the strongest member of our exploration team. Furthermore, the few sensory or physical weaknesses they possess, such as olfactory acuity, sheer sprinting speed, maximum lifting capacity, or hearing, are ruthlessly and scientifically complemented by the dozens of artificially evolved animals they have domesticated. They utilize engineered canines, felines, and scores of other dedicated biological units to supplement their every failing. Quite simply, they terrified us. They had violated every established biological and cosmological law of nature. We said our polite hellos and executed an immediate, panicked retreat. We gave them no star charts. We offered no technological uplift. Their world is a perpetual, hell-drilled death world, a civilization in a near-perpetual state of internecine conflict. Our analysis leaves only two viable options. We must either obliterate the planet, nuking it back into the chaotic dimension from which it crawled, or we must placate them completely. They have already somehow reverse-engineered one of our jump drive engines, and they possess a chilling, inherent tendency to weaponize every single thing they touch.